Good morning everyone, and welcome to Nazareth Contemplative Prayer. I've returned to Green Park. I think returning is a wonderful thing, and often we love to go back to places that we know. And this is a park that I know and I love. Many of you may be surprised that we're sitting in this sort of wildflower meadow or wild grass meadow. It's called the Queen's Meadow, and I'm going to be talking a bit about it in a moment. But I want to begin by reflecting, by us being still for a moment and reflecting upon this time that we've reached. It seems to me that we're living in between times. Many of us are longing to return to things as they were. Many of us are anxious about how things will be in the future. But perhaps there are times when we just have to be in between the time. Do you remember when you were kids that the kind of things parents or teachers used to say is, wait and see. Wait and see. Well, waiting and seeing is a very difficult thing to do. But possibly it's the thing that we have to do now, to wait and see. Both waiting can be a beautiful thing, and seeing can be an incredibly wonderful thing. The danger is that we try and fill every moment with lots of other things, lots of other plans and clutter and activity. And even in this time of COVID and isolation, there is a tendency to fill our time with lots of plans and Zoom conferences and many other things that we're trying to do to keep busy and to keep active, rather than exploring the waiting and the seeing. Hopefully in these times of Nazareth Contemplative Prayer, we've been able to wait and to see. I want to explore a sense of inner peace, which is not dependent upon context. What I mean is that there can be peace in our hearts even when the situation outside is difficult, even when there is uncertainty, even when we're not quite sure what the future holds. We can still hold the moment and the moment of peace within us. If we love the world will love us back. If we are kind to one another, we will also be kind to ourselves. If we wait, we will feel our hearts begin to open. If we see, we will begin to discover things that have always been with us, but often we have scarcely noticed. I want to read you a piece from my book, The City is My Monastery. Hold fast by letting go. The less longing, the more presence. The less we bang on a door, the more it will open for us. The less we demand, the more the beauty of the gift. The less we expect, the more the joy of surprise. The more selfless, the more self. The more love we give, the more love we receive. It is our clinging which is our death. The less we cling, the more we embrace. The less we fear, the more we love. All joy reminds us it's not a possession but leads us onwards. Our love is a taste of things to come. Go lightly, go simply, Feel the beauty of balance in your life. A breathing out, a breathing in, a shared breath, a letting go so that we may be held forever. I wonder if we can live that letting go so that we can be held forever. I wonder if we can stop fearing death. All of us each day go through countless small deaths. When you hear the radio and the news, the death is presented always as some incredible tragedy. But each one of our deaths is part of our lives. And when we begin to open ourselves to the wonder of life, perhaps death itself is no longer such a fearful thing, but it's part of the cycle of recreation and rediscovery and being reborn. I'm going to take you now for a short walk, a walk through this area of green park that looks like a meadow in the middle of the countryside. And for our words today, our mantra for today, I want to share words from the gospel. It's those words which Jesus says, which are spoken by the angels about Jesus' resurrection. Do not be afraid. He has gone before you. He has gone before you. And that's a wonderful thing. In the moment of the tomb, the moment of death, the moment of dissolution, and where everything seems to be dissolving, and the disciples and the women at the tomb are so unsure of what the future holds, that message, do not be afraid, he has gone before you. I want you to imagine as we walk today that Christ has walked this walk before us. He has gone before us. He has opened up the path, opened up the way for us. Let's walk the way in the knowledge that Christ has gone before us. He has gone before us. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid, wait and see. He has gone before us. So here we are, the Queen's Meadow, at the top of Green Park. You wouldn't think that we were in the middle of the city, would you? This space occupies an acre in the west end of Green Park. It's called the Queen's Meadow and was ceded by Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, as part of the Meadows project. You know, Prince Charles has always loved the natural world, and he's loved the sense of wild grasses where the bees will come. This meadow was sown with seed from two ancient meadows, Valebridge Common in West Sussex and Horsenden Meadow in the London Borough of Ealing. It was planted, I think, in 2013. You can see all the wildflowers, the ox-eyed daisies, the yellow rattle, the red clover, the thistles. I just love it when they let a park go wild like this. And of course these wild meadows are so ecologically sound because they are the source of pollination from everywhere else. every other green space. They're also a celebration of diversity. Look at that. It's like a carpet. Can we go on living with this sense of wonder, even when the context is painful and hard? Can we let each death become a rising, become the realization of resurrection and hope? Christ has gone before us. Listen to the sound of the birds. Now, I wish I had someone like Rosalind with me to tell me the names of all the birds that are singing. As Neil McGregor said, this really is the time of the birds, isn't it? Can we keep that song of the birds alive even when we start to fill our time more and more? You can almost feel everyone chomping at the bit to get back to the way of working. And of course people are anxious. But can we keep the song of the birds alive? Can we keep the sky blue? Can we still breathe clean air? Can we keep the lessons that we have learned living and being recreated in our lives day after day? After living in the South Pacific, the thing I thought most when I returned to England is the United Kingdom is how often fearful and anxious our society is. So worried, so trapped by fear. I've lived in much poorer countries in the world where they face poverty and death on a daily basis, and yet they live with sometimes so much more spontaneity and freedom and joy and confidence in the goodness of God. Yet we almost sort of tie ourselves up with anxieties, worrying about every next step. He has gone before us. He has set us free. Can we live with that courage and that love, even in times of difficulty? Can we live with a sense of God's hope? Hope is such a wonderful thing, but if we let hope die and we just count the dead, how do we discover the wonder of resurrection? The wonder of grace, the wonder of a God who is beyond this world and beyond our deaths. I want to learn to live God now. Not a plan for the future, not a strategic plan, not a formula that I impose upon my life, but living God now, discovering His beauty in those I meet, discovering His presence in the natural world, which is here, all around us, at every time. out now into the sunshine. I've been so lucky in these walks that we've had these blue skies. Look at it, it's just amazing. I thought when I came out we were going to be in the clouds, and now the sun has come out to celebrate you all who are joining me for contemplative prayer. You know, when Prince Charles planted this, he just took seeds and scattered generously. Some of them grew, some of them didn't, a bit like this parable of the sower. And yet look at it now, 6 years later, just a celebration of creation. And the bees and the butterflies are out in force. I don't know whether you can see them, and the beautiful thistles and the wild grass and the stinging nettles. Everything is here. And now I'm going to take you across one of the busiest roads in London with the screaming sirens, because I want to take you under a Wellington Arch. It's called Wellington Arch apparently because there used to be a huge statue of Wellington on the top of the arch on a horse, but apparently Queen Victoria thought it was very unsightly, and it was eventually replaced with the new statue of the Angel of Peace carrying the olive branch and riding in a chariot. And there we are. Wellington Arch, otherwise known as Constitution Arch. I've got 9 seconds to cross this road, so forgive me if I rush, even after I've just talked to you about being peaceful. Here we are. Wellington Arch. It's good to know that even in Victoria's time they had problems with statues and taking them down and putting up new ones. And that's the new statue, a celebration of peace. Well, the arch was apparently built in 1826. Wellington was put up came down in 1846. And in 1882, that new sculpture, a sculpture of peace, was put up, and it was designed by Adrian Jones to more proportionally fit this triumphant arch. Anyway, we're going to go through it now. I'm sure many of you have been through here before because we're leading up now to Hyde Park. But before we go into Hyde Park, the reason really I've brought you through here is I want to show you this war memorial. It's an Australian war memorial, and usually it has water which runs down this memorial. And it's always been a very profound memorial for me because with the names of those who've died, it names the places all over the world where Australians and many, many others from those places have died in war. And of course, each one of those places on the memorial is a place that speaks to each one of us because we've heard of them and we've heard of the conflicts that have taken place in those parts of the world. In Normandy and Kokoda in Papua New Guinea, I particularly think of Kokoda because I've been to this place. It's called the Kokoda Trail, right up through the heart of Papua New Guinea. Borneo. Tobruk. And Gaza. But I don't know whether you can see there's Savo Island. And whenever I walk past this memorial, I think of Savo Island, because I know Savo Island so well. It's a very, very small volcanic island in the middle of the South Pacific, very near Guadalcanal, where I used to live. And I often went to Savo Island, because Savo Island was part of my ministry. I used to go there to preach and to take services, and went across there in a small canoe. And the water, the strait between Guadalcanal and Savo Island, is called Iron Bottom Sound, because so many ships during the Second World War, when Japan was fighting against United States of America, were sunk in that strait between Guadalcanal and Savo Island. And so many people lost their lives. It was the thin red line. It was the part of the Pacific where the Americans turned back the Japanese expansion. And so many people died. And I often think that in that most beautiful part of the South Pacific, they too are connected with us. You know, war is something that connects us across the world, and it's a tragedy for each one of us. These are not national tragedies. When a country across the world suffers, we all feel the pain. But the opposite is also true, that we have a common humanity, that we have a God who is God of us all, and that we are all made in his image, and that the lives of people in every part of the world, whether it be Savo Island or Normandy or Kokoda or the North Sea or Berlin or Borneo, those lives belong to us too. They're part of the same human family. That's why Black Lives Matter. That's why every single life matters. We're not tribes. We're not individual nations warring against each other. We are one family. A family stretching across the world. A family made in the image of God, with all the potential to become the sons and daughters of God. How can we live that promise now? How can we see the church not just as some sort of private institution, but as an expression that Christ has gone before us, that he's shown us a new way? Blessed are the peacemakers. They shall be called the sons and daughters of God. Do not be afraid. I have gone before you. I've not closed you down, I've opened you up. I've opened you up to see the heavens above us and the earth beneath our feet. We were not created to live in fear. We were created to live in blessing. And if we love the world will love us back. If we are kind to one another, we will be kind to ourselves. If we live the compassion of God and the generosity of God, then we too will be part of that same generosity. Can I cross this road without being run over? Again, I'm running. But here now we enter through the gates of Hyde Park. This is my favourite walk from where I live in Trafalgar Square. Again, I hope it's a walk that many of you have done or many of you will do. The cyclists, the joggers, the walkers are out in force, experiencing a new liberation perhaps, or the outpouring of pent-up energy. We're not going to have time to get to the Serpentine today, but I'd just like to finish this meditation by taking you on a walk through these Hyde Park gardens where the flowers are coming out, the roses are out, and it's especially beautiful. I'm sure that wherever you are, in whatever part of the world you're living, there are these places, these oases, where we can wait and see God's love for the world. Do not be afraid. I've gone before you. I've gone before you. I will be with you until the end of time and beyond. Every letting go is a new beginning. Every time the seed falls, there is the chance of new life. Every time I come back to these gardens, there's new growth. One flower has died and a new flower is opening up and having its time in the sun. Each of our days there are letting goes, there are dyings, but there are also risings. The secret of our faith is to live now and to see the blessing now, even within the pain. Recognize the sorrow. Recognize the struggle that so many people are facing. We can't deny that. Recognize our own pain and our own frustration. But don't see that as the defining thing of our life. Don't be defined by the pain. Be defined by a God who is so much greater, who through the darkness and through the loss opens up the infinite possibility, the luminous possibility of eternity and creation, of rising again, resurrection and hope. Do not be afraid. He has gone before us. Can you believe this? You could just walk past this without even realizing that it was here. Which is more beautiful, the climbing roses or the color of the sky? The vastness of the sky. One of the vows of the Nazareth community, or one of the promises, is to stay with, not to give up, not to turn back, not to think that, oh, this is hopeless, everything is over, but to stay with, to stay present, whatever the context, to stay with the sense that God is with us now. A kind of faithful love, an unconditional love. The realization that we haven't been left orphans. God has gone before us. When I think of that image of a God who is steadfast in his love through whatever context in which we live, I think of a mother. I was fortunate to have present tense, to have a mother who has been faithful in love. I wrote a poem about her, and I'd like to end this meditation with this meditation on faithful love. If I can find the place. Love waits for you at the station, filled with the joy that you may be coming. Love waits for you outside the doctor's surgery. Love waits in the car to drive you home. Love frustrates you, irritates you, gets in the way, longs, hopes, worries, wants to do things for you, knows jealousy, protects, confronts, defends, flashes with anger at your selfishness or your neglect or your turning away. Love longs for your success. And yet, love loves you exactly as you are. Through years of imperfection, love waits at the door for your return, under the hanging basket of flowers you gave them years before. Love welcomes the whole of you. The bed is waiting, prepared with a towel for when you can visit again. The endless questions about what to cook and the food you like. The room which you painted is waiting. The photo beside the bedside from 20 or 30 years ago. And the 1,000 memories that pierce your heart with affection and concern and the fear of loss and the fear of death. This steadfast love is home, to which we return in our memories again and again. For this one who is watching and waiting, whose eyes we know better than our own. The clothes which they have carefully folded and have kept in the drawer for your return. The clock on the wall, aching with the tick of departure. We celebrate that love, that steadfast love, that love that holds us like a mother holds a child, that love that holds us as God holds us. And we pray, even in the midst of transition, we may wait and we may see that love, and that love will come to fruition in us. Thank you for joining me for this meditation in between times, and I look forward to next week. God bless, and may Christ go before you.